Love is supposed to feel safe, warm, and nurturing. Yet, for many of us, the very experience of love can trigger feelings of anxiety, fear, and vulnerability that seem to come from nowhere. When someone gets close to us, when they show us genuine care and affection, we might find ourselves pulling away, creating conflict, or feeling an inexplicable sense of danger. This isn't weakness, and it's not a character flaw. It's the echo of our earliest experiences with love, protection, and safety. Our nervous system, that ancient guardian of our survival, sometimes can't distinguish between the love we're receiving today and the love we needed but didn't receive when we were small and defenseless. The truth is that our capacity to receive love as adults is deeply shaped by how we experienced love, care, and safety in our earliest years. When we were children, our caregivers weren't just providing food and shelter. They were literally shaping our nervous system's understanding of what safety feels like. Every interaction, every moment of comfort or distress, every pattern of connection or disconnection was being written into our body's memory. Our nervous system was learning whether the world is a safe place, whether people can be trusted, and whether we are worthy of love and protection. For those who experience trauma, neglect, or inconsistent caregiving in childhood, the nervous system developed in an environment of chronic stress or uncertainty. This doesn't mean our caregivers were necessarily bad people. Many were doing the best they could with their own wounds and limitations. But when a child's needs for safety, attunement, and consistent care aren't met, the nervous system adapts by becoming hypervigilant, always scanning for danger, always ready to protect. This adaptation was brilliant and necessary for survival then, but it can create profound challenges in our adult relationships. When we carry this kind of early programming into our adult relationships, love itself can feel threatening. The vulnerability required for deep intimacy can activate our old survival responses. Our nervous system, still operating from those early patterns, might interpret someone's love and care as a potential threat. After all, if love wasn't safe before, if the people who were supposed to protect us couldn't be consistently trusted, why would love be safe now? This creates a painful paradox where the very thing we long for most deeply, genuine connection and love, becomes the thing that feels most dangerous. Consider how this might show up in daily life. You might find yourself becoming anxious when your partner is particularly loving or attentive. You might start arguments or create distance when things are going well in your relationship. You might feel safer in relationships that are somewhat chaotic or unpredictable because that feels familiar to your nervous system. You might find yourself attracted to people who aren't emotionally available because that unconsciously feels like home. These patterns aren't conscious choices. They're the result of a nervous system that learned to associate love with danger or unpredictability. The impact of childhood trauma on adult relationships goes beyond just romantic partnerships. It affects how we connect with friends, how we interact with colleagues, how we parent our own children, and even how we relate to ourselves. When our early experiences taught us that we couldn't trust others to be consistently caring and safe, we might develop patterns of self-reliance that make it difficult to ask for help or support. We might become people pleasers, constantly trying to earn love and approval, or we might become emotionally distant, protecting ourselves from the possibility of being hurt again. This makes this particularly challenging is that these patterns often operate below the level of conscious awareness. We might know intellectually that our partner loves us and that we're safe, but our nervous system might still be responding as if we're that vulnerable child who couldn't trust the adults around them. This disconnect between what we know in our minds and what we feel in our bodies can be confusing and frustrating. We might judge ourselves for our reactions, wondering why we can't just accept love when it's offered, why we create problems in relationships that are actually good for us. Understanding the nervous system's role in these patterns is crucial for healing. Our nervous system developed these protective responses for good reason, and they served us well when we were young and truly vulnerable. The challenge is that these same responses, while they may have saved us then, can prevent us from experiencing the love and connection we need now. The good news is that just as our nervous system learned these patterns, it can also learn new ones. We can teach our nervous system that love is safe, that we can trust others, and that we are worthy of care and protection. This process of healing isn't about forgetting the past or pretending that our early experiences didn't matter. It's about acknowledging how those experiences shaped us while also recognizing that we have the power to create new patterns. It's about learning to distinguish between past danger and present safety, between the relationships that hurt us and the relationships that can heal us. This requires patience, compassion, and often the support of others who understand this journey. One of the most important steps in this healing process is developing what we might call nervous system literacy. This means learning to recognize when our nervous system is activated, when we're responding from old patterns rather than present reality. It means noticing the physical sensations that accompany our emotional responses, the tightness in our chest, the tension in our shoulders, the way our breathing changes when we feel threatened. By developing this awareness, we can begin to create space between our automatic reactions and our conscious responses.
Think about a time when you felt loved and cared for, but instead of feeling happy, you felt anxious or wanted to push the person away. In that moment, your nervous system was likely responding to some old memory of when love wasn't safe, when care came with conditions or threats. Learning to recognize these moments is the first step in being able to respond differently. Instead of judging ourselves for these reactions, we can acknowledge them with compassion, understanding that they come from a part of us that was trying to protect us. The healing journey also involves learning to tolerate the discomfort of being truly seen and loved. For those who experience childhood trauma, being fully known by another person can feel terrifying. We might have learned to hide parts of ourselves, to present only what we thought was acceptable or safe. The idea of someone seeing all of us, including our wounds and vulnerabilities, can trigger deep fears of rejection or abandonment. Yet this vulnerability is essential for the deep connection we crave. Have you ever noticed how sometimes when someone shows you genuine care and affection, you feel an urge to test them, to see if they'll stay when things get difficult? This testing behavior often comes from a place of trying to determine if this person is truly safe, if their love is conditional or genuine. Our nervous system, operating from old patterns, might create scenarios to see if this person will abandon us like others might have in the past. Understanding this pattern can help us recognize when we're operating from fear rather than present reality. Thank you for being here with me today, for taking the time to explore these deep and important topics. You're watching Not What It Seems, where we dive into the complexities of human experience and emotional healing every day. I'm grateful that you've chosen to spend this time learning about how our earliest experiences shape our capacity for love and connection. Your presence here suggests that you're someone who is committed to understanding yourself more deeply, and that's truly admirable. Now, let me ask you something personal. When you think about your own relationships, can you identify moments when love felt unsafe or when you found yourself pulling away from someone who was trying to care for you? These moments aren't something to be ashamed of. They're clues to understanding how your nervous system learned to protect you. If you feel comfortable sharing, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. Sometimes putting words to these patterns can be the first step in healing them. The process of healing these deep patterns requires us to become curious about our reactions rather than judgmental. When we notice ourselves becoming anxious in response to love, instead of criticizing ourselves, we can ask, what is my nervous system trying to tell me right now? What old story is being activated? This curiosity creates space for healing, space for our nervous system to learn that it's safe to be loved in the present moment. Healing also requires us to find relationships and environments where we can practice receiving love safely. This might mean working with a therapist who understands trauma, joining a support group, or cultivating friendships with people who can offer consistent, patient care. We need experiences that contradict our old learning, experiences that teach our nervous system that love can be safe, that people can be trustworthy, and that we are worthy of care. It's important to understand that this healing isn't linear. There will be times when old patterns resurface, when love feels scary again, when we find ourselves responding from those ancient protective mechanisms. This doesn't mean we're not making progress. It means we're human. Healing happens in layers, and each time we work through these patterns, we integrate them more deeply. We develop greater capacity to stay present with love, to tolerate the vulnerability that true intimacy requires. The body holds the memory of our early experiences, and it also holds the capacity for healing. When we learn to listen to our body's wisdom, to honor its protective responses, while also gently expanding its capacity for safety, we create the conditions for profound transformation. This might involve practices like meditation, yoga, or somatic therapy that help us develop a different relationship with our nervous system. One of the most powerful aspects of this healing journey is that as we learn to receive love more fully, we also learn to give love more freely. When we're not constantly protecting ourselves from imagined threats, we have more energy available for genuine connection. We can be present with others in their pain without being overwhelmed by our own demands. We can offer comfort without fear of being consumed or abandoned. The ripple effects of this healing extend far beyond our personal relationships. When we heal our own capacity for love and connection, we become part of healing the larger patterns of disconnection and trauma that affect our communities and our world. We become people who can hold space for others' pain, who can offer the kind of presence and safety that we ourselves needed when we were young and vulnerable. For those who are parents, this healing work is particularly crucial. Children learn about love and safety not from what we tell them, but from what we model. When we heal our own relationship with love, we create the possibility for our children to grow up with a nervous system that knows love is safe, that people can be trusted, and that they are inherently worthy of care and protection. We break the cycle of trauma that might have been passed down through generations. This doesn't mean we need to be perfect parents or perfect partners. It means we need to be aware of our patterns, committed to our own healing, and willing to repair when we make mistakes. Children and partners can handle our imperfections much better than they can handle our unconscious patterns and unhealed wounds. When we take responsibility for our healing, we create space for authentic, healthy relationships to flourish. The journey of healing childhood trauma in adult relationships is ultimately a journey of reclaiming our birthright to love and be loved. Every human being is born with the capacity for deep connection, for giving and receiving love freely. Trauma doesn't destroy this capacity, it just covers it over with protective layers. Our work is to gently remove these layers, to help our nervous system remember what it knew before it learned to be afraid. This process requires immense compassion for ourselves and for those who shaped our early experiences. Many of our caregivers were themselves carrying unhealed wounds, doing the best they could with their own limitations and pain. Healing doesn't require us to excuse harmful behavior, but it does ask us to understand the larger context of how trauma gets passed down through generations. When we heal our own patterns, we contribute to healing this larger cycle.
Today, I wanted to offer you a different way of thinking about those moments when love feels unsafe. Instead of seeing these reactions as problems to be fixed, what if we could see them as information about what our nervous system needs to feel safe? What if we could approach these moments with curiosity and compassion rather than judgment and frustration? This shift in perspective can transform our relationship with our own healing process. Remember that healing is not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's about removing the layers of protection that were necessary for survival, but that now prevent you from experiencing the love and connection you deserve. It's about trusting that your nervous system, which was wise enough to protect you when you were vulnerable, is also wise enough to guide you toward healing and wholeness. The path forward involves small, consistent steps toward safety and connection. It might mean staying present for one more moment when you feel the urge to pull away. It might mean reaching out for support when you feel overwhelmed. It might mean practicing self-compassion when old patterns resurface. Every small step toward healing is significant. Every moment of choosing love over fear is a victory worth celebrating. I hope today's exploration has offered you some insight into your own patterns and perhaps some hope for the healing that's possible. Remember that you're not broken and you don't need to be fixed. You're a human being who adapted brilliantly to challenging circumstances, and now you have the opportunity to expand beyond those adaptations. Your nervous system learned to protect you, and now it can learn to let you be loved. If this content resonated with you, please give it a like to help others find these important conversations. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below if you feel called to do so. Your story matters, and sharing it might help someone else feel less alone in their journey. If you'd like to continue exploring these topics with me, consider subscribing to Not What It Seems for daily content that dives deep into the complexities of human experience and healing. Remember, healing is possible. Love is your birthright, and you deserve to experience the safety and connection you've always longed for.